All right. Welcome to the stream. We're running a little bit late tonight, but I'm here. So tonight, our goal we're going to be focused on is actually creating the projects. So in the last stream, we added in tasks that could be added to persons, people, and this time we're going to adding the project, the main project entity. With that, we're also going to be adding the activity to it. So we'll be able to add notes and be able to add tasks. We're probably going to flesh out tasks a lot more moving forward. So being able to maybe group them into lists or something along those lines, and even having maybe a custom interface where we can quickly add them and make them kind of a little more lightweight, just because for project management side of things, that's probably going to make more sense. We also probably going to be looking at doing assigning tasks to individuals. Those are all things that we're going to be looking at as we move forward. This also is kind of a key point where we're going to be able to start thinking about adding kind of that dashboard to the home, because you're going to have tasks for companies, for people, for projects, and those are going to have due dates and stuff that you've scheduled to do on different days. So we're going to want to be able to start kind of surfacing that from throughout the system to kind of show up. We're not going to tackle all of that today. It's just be kind of building out the main task concept and an entity for that. All right, so let's switch over to the editor. All right. So I don't know why that's doing stuff. All right, so I just quickly threw together copying this from one of the other sections where we can do creation of things. So this is going to be where we can basically manage our project. So we're going to be able to click on a project, add project, give it a name, create that project, click into it, click the ability to edit it, and then so we're going to kind of have all of those major components there. Actually, one thing I'll probably want to also do in here is maybe I'll say that projects have a due date. So we can say fill in due date, or it's going to by default be due at. And we'll say with 2009 12/01, I don't know, at 12. Because that's going to be an exact timestamp. That's probably enough for now. So if we run this should yell about the project's not existing. Yep. So that's in our shared menu. So in here, we're going to have a projects path. And this is going to complain about the route. Yep. So resources, projects. And it doesn't have the controller. And now it's going to complain about index. And now the view. I never get used to how quickly the sidebar scrolls I normally have it at using a full native resolution as opposed to the Retina resolution. So my scrolling speed is ridiculous, but that's all right. All right. So it's now looking for an add project link. So this is actually a place where, here, let's just do this. We can do new projects path. This is actually a place where we'd probably want to start actually adding some ideas for localization. So if we wanted to internationalize this, we could. So let's actually just do this right now and kind of show what this would look like. So I do have it turned on that if you use a translation that doesn't exist, then it actually fails on that. So I'm going to go to the locales, and I normally create a separate file based on the model that I'm kind of interacting with primarily. So we're going to make a projects.en.yaml, and this is going to be en projects. And when you use the period at the front of this, it's going to do something that's context appropriate. So because we're doing this from the projects controller and we're in the index action, this is going to be the same as doing projects.index.whatever. And also we'll add templates inside of there. So if you had this inside of a different template, then that actually would show up as part of that path as well. So projects, index, add link, or add project. All right, new projects path doesn't work because it's wrong. So let's fix that. New can't be found for the controller. And the view can't be found. Let's just help ourselves here by doing new.html.erb. We're going to need a edit.html.erb and a form.html.erb. And here we are going to render form, and we're going to be passing in the project to that. And can't find name because we haven't made the form. Now set this up properly. For style, might as well just do that as we do this. We're going to use space Y4 so that they're spaced out properly. And actually the reason that I put this inside here as a div is because when this spits out a form, it's going to be adding some hidden fields. So what we're actually going to be seeing here, if we looked, is we actually would have input hidden type equals hidden, and stuff, and there actually could be multiple in here. So when this does spacing, if I just put that up here onto the actual form itself, it actually would end up having a huge bunch of white space above it. So this is a pretty simple way to correct that. Although I've thought about doing a pull request to look to change, figure out a way if there's a way to change the space Y to ignore hidden inputs as well. Because it already ignores non-visible items. So just something to consider. Okay, so so we need a name. And so this is spitting out and yelling at me because so actually, I think I'm going to change this. So in the form builder, so when we do an input, it's going to try and get its type. So it's going to look for me to pass in the field type parameter, or it's going to get a type from the object method. And then I have a way to kind of handle that. Actually, so unhandled method to sim for nil. So when nil comes in there, then that causes a problem. Yeah, that probably handles it well. So this is going to say, yeah, well, so we'll see what this says now. unspecified field type, unspecified field type name to nothing. I wonder if there I can do. Yeah, that's even better. So it's saying it has a nil type. Actually, let's actually make that explicit. So, so if it's nil, it's going to say unspecified field type. So we're actually going to say nil field type for that, and nil field type. Perfect. Okay, so this is happening. This is happening because we're not specifying it and there's no type on the object itself. So yeah, that's what's going on. So that can be solved correctly by actually doing this in here. So at project equals project.new. And now it should claim about the project. The project isn't a thing because we haven't made it yet. So that seems reasonable enough. So we're going to do Rails gmodel project. So this is going to be connected to an account. This is going to have a name. You know what? Now I'm thinking about it. I want that to have a description. Which is going to be some text. You know what? I'm actually not going to do this. We'll eventually use some stuff to give us rich text to be editing with this. So we're going to say do at, which is a date, time, count, references, name, due date. And actually we wanted, yeah, that's probably good for now. All right. And as usual, let's run through and just check do a sanity check on these. So account is null, foreign key true, name, that cannot be null. Do at can be null because they could be things without a due date. Belongs to account, yep. And actually while we're in here, we'll go into the account and say that it has many projects. And we'll dump this because it doesn't matter for now. We'll make this into a sequence. And it helps if we do that properly. All right. And Rails DB migrate. All right, let's try this again. Looks good. All right. Can't have a due date. Perfect. All right, so let's hop back over to the project form. Form.input. Do at. Form.submit. So a lot of times in these videos, I kind of take a very, very step-by-step. I know exactly what the next exception or failure in the test is going to be. But when I'm actually doing it for real, I'll usually take a lot of these kind of, instead of breaking it down into step 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, a lot of times we'll kind of build out, okay, well, the create action. Well, I don't need to just create action. I need to create the A action. I have to save the thing and have the project params, etc. Right now, it's less of impact because the tests can run in a fraction of a second. But as things get more complicated, they can take longer. So it makes more sense a lot of times to kind of build a couple steps at a time. But you're still testing the major function as you build it. So project equals project.new project params and project.count equals current account and project.save. So I'm also not building in a lot of the error handling on a lot of these because they're not very complicated at this point. Again, I'll kind of build it out as we kind of get a more complicated setup. So that's definitely not best practice, but that's also why I'm doing save bang. You would normally want to do something like if project.save redirect else render new. But for right now, we're just gonna save bang it, assume that it goes through, and redirect to projects path. And this is actually something I'll probably end up changing. I don't know if it makes sense to, as we build this out and have more complex functionality, you probably actually want to create the project, then you're going to go into it, and then you'll start building things out. So that's actually something I fully expect to be different. But for right now, that's kind of what we're doing, and I ran the wrong spec file. All right, so now it's saying it can't find my project, which means that it did save. So for example, if I went in here and commented out that name, which is required in the database, then this is going to, no, that should have still blown up. I would have expected that to blow up on here. Just out of curiosity. Let's see what this is doing actually live. Oh, yes. I know what's going on. Okay, so this actually doesn't give an error because the page that we're on, it's submitting that create project request using TurboStreams. So because TurboStream is handling it, it's actually doing a JavaScript call. It's erroring in the separate process that's running the create on the background, in the background. And then the JavaScript console, let's actually bump this out to 20 seconds and I'll show it. So, all right, I was able to pop this up. So let's see if I did I mess things up. Okay, well, I'm having a hard time capturing that. Well, here, let's do this in the browser over here. All right, so if I go to refresh, I now go projects, add a project, leave that blank, and create. Oh, actually, no. Never mind. I'm wrong. This is submitting a blank project, and on the name, we want to do presence true. Add project. All right. So now if we do that, let's see if this runs properly. So if we turn the JavaScript off, actually that's not JavaScript off. It's actually going to not submit it with TurboStream, so that eliminates that. What this was actually doing is it was submitting a blank, which is present, but it's not. It's present as far as Postgres is the database is concerned. It's blank. It's an empty string, but it is a valid string. But we actually want to do. We actually want to require it to be fully present. All right. So that's now the error expected in that place. So if we go to projects index, so we can close the form, edit, new, project controller. So in index, we're going to go in here and do projects.each do project. And in here, we're just going to say we'll do a div and a link to project dot name project and end that div. And this should now blow up because can't do each on nil. Good. So grab all the projects for the account. Show can't be found. Good. We're now on the right path. And we always want to be scoping with something that references the account, so the account or the membership as is appropriate. That just helps make sure we're getting the right stuff. We're not leaking information between different sections or different accounts, rather. All right. So here we'll just split the project.name. And here we can do something like t.edit. Edit project path. All right, and this is on the show and edit. And in here we want to basically copy over the new. And in our projects controller, so a lot of people, it's pretty common to do a before action for some of these things. And I don't think it's a problem to do it. I usually don't, just because then if you ever want to do a change that makes them different, you have to remember that they are different. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal either way. And I'm actually being inconsistent with that, which I shouldn't be, but yeah. Yeah. And redirect to that project. All right, so we now have projects in our system, and I'm actually gonna go in here and change the name of this to, I don't know, CRMmy. So now I can click on CRMmy, edit, yep. Okay, so that is all working. We've got 5 minutes left. Okay, so we want to be able to add, activities. So if we go over to people and go over to the show, let's grab some of this and go down to the show down here. So on the left panel, we want to grab that content. So we'll do, and I'm going to just actually comment this out because I actually do want to do custom attributes at some point for this. So that's fine. In here we've got the activities and we want to make this be going to project.sgid. Yep. But we don't want to do emails. So we can do notes and tasks and project.activities, render activity. Layout, we can't do employments, that doesn't make sense, so we'll remove that. And we just have nothing over in here. All right, so if we refresh this now, project.activities isn't a thing, and that's because we go to the person, include activity records, that's record activities, and go to project and include that. This is also now starting to scream at me that we need to make this into a concern, because that's on kind of all things. So let's add a note, test a note, and add a task. Do the stuff. That goes there. So let's add another task. Style note activities. And another task, which is close note activity form after submit. And that's because when I added that note, it didn't disappear right away. We refresh the page, we can see that this is all working. So this is live, it's connected and working. So I said, let's do that in 5 minutes. It took 3 minutes. So because we've already built that left, right, center panel component, we can quickly lay that out. And because the activities are entirely generic, that all works too. So that's just all ready to go. Now, so with this, when we actually build in the editing of tasks, we'll be able to edit these everywhere. And yeah, so that all works well. All right. Well, yeah, so all right. So what we ran through today is creating a scaffold out the new projects entity. And because of the scaffolding that we've got in place, we're able to very, very quickly throw the activities onto it. One of the things that was added in Rails, I believe 6.1, is delegated types. So this really is going to kind of come into play with some of those activities. So we'll see that kind of as we kind of build things out. That gives us a lot of the ability to reuse a lot of the functionality associated with connecting things together, but giving us really a lot of flexibility for how we kind of customize those and make those do different things. So that is something that we'll definitely be touching in a lot more when we continue to move forward. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you next time.